So in this video, let's talk about ES6. We'll talk about let, const, and var. And so if you can observe, let's close this. Let's close it and restart Visual Studio Code. And when you click on Visual Studio Code and when it opens, you can observe that in the terminal, you're not in practice app anymore. You're just in desktop, you're in React app, but you're not in practice app. So if you say npm start, it'll show an error. That is because you're not in practice app, but you're in React app. You're not in the practice app folder, but whereas you're in React apps directly. So you need to be in practice app directly. So for that, what you have to do is say cd practice app. So each time you close Visual Studio Code, when you open it, you have to get into the practice app directly, or else it will show an error. So if you close it, please do open practice app directly by putting this command and then say npm start, and it will start your server, your local server development. Okay. So in this video, we'll be talking about ES6. So you can go ahead and either delete this entire thing that we have done, or you can comment it. You can do either one of them, or else you can put it in a folder here. So in this, let's create a new file, or sorry, it's a file, not folder, and we'll call this as, let's say, practice. Not practice. Let's call it as JSX hyphen practice.js, and we can go ahead and store this. You can either store that there, or you can comment it, or you can delete it. This is for your future reference. You can save this, close it. This won't really affect your your local server development. So anyways, so you can go ahead, remove this entire. Okay, so let us talk about let and const. After this video, we'll never use var. The problem with var is that it is easy to accidentally misuse and abuse, creating unnecessary weird situations which we don't want. So now let's go ahead and type var user var. So this is user was a variable which, and we call it as John, right? His name is John, and let's log it out. And so because we'll be creating multiple names and multiple variables, it's better to, I'll show why I have done that, and we'll call it var. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that. Okay, we can, it is showing us some warnings, so we can go ahead and remove this as well. And we'll just be practicing ES6 let and const in this, and we'll also be talking about arrow functions. Let's save that again. Alright, so let's go back to our local host. And here you don't really see anything, because that's obviously because we haven't put anything. But so if you want to see something, you can go ahead to these three dots here and open something called developer tools, and you will find that in more tools here, if you go down, you can see developer tools. You can either do something like this, or you can press F12, that is function 12. You can see on top of the keyboard function 12, and you will get this. So go ahead to console. On console, so I want it to be down here, so you can do that as well. You can find that here. Alright, let's close this, and you can see User var is John. Let's change this to colon, it means present. So user var is John. Now what I want to show here is that we can redefine and reassign a var variable. So what does that mean? So let's go ahead and do that. Reassign it. So user var is equal to what do we call it as Mike, and let's save that. Now it is changed to Mike. So we can reassign this variable using the var keyword. So user var is now Mike and it's not John anymore. That is called as reassigning. So we can reassign. Now there is no problem with this. Now let's go ahead and redefine it. So what is redefining? So we are redefining the entire variable itself. This will be completely removed from the memory and this will be added. Alright. So let's change it to something called as, let it be Mike itself, and let's save it. Now it shows us an error. It shows us a warning actually. It says user var is already defined, no redeclare, but still it's going to work. It's just going to show us a warning. So it's just going to show what is wrong with redefining and reassigning. The problem with this is when you're writing many lines of code and you happen to forget that you used this particular name, variable name, and you'll use it somewhere else and it will completely change the code, and that is a very big problem. If you type the same thing somewhere else and not knowing that you already used this variable, you're going to change the entire value of the previously defined variable. So that will be a very big problem, and that's why we are going to use let and const. So let's go ahead and say let user let is equal to, let's call him, actually let's call her as Shunya, and you can either put the semicolon, you don't have to, but you can. And let's log this out. And let's say user let comma. All right, so let's go ahead and save that, and I hope you can see. So let's just comment this out. Control KC and save this. Now you can see user let is nothing but the colon again. So user let is Shunya. Now let's go ahead and reassign this, and let's call this as June, and this works perfectly fine. So let allows us to reassign. Let's try to redefine it. So let user let June, and our app crashes. This is the advantage of it, doesn't let you redefine it. So that's the difference between let and var. So let's go ahead and see const. Go ahead and comment this out. So that's Control KC, and here we will go ahead and say const user const is equal to Frank, and let's log it out. This is user const colon, and that's user const. Save it, and your app is completely working now. And user const is nothing but, so this is your developer tools basically. In case I forgot to tell you, this is developer tools. You can see your HTML, and I'll be talking about developer tools later. And let's just see our JavaScript for now in the console in your browser. So user const is Frank now. Let's try to reassign this. And so user const is nothing but equal to Frederick. Let's save that. And that gives us an error. So it completely crashes. What is the error? Assignment to constant variable. Assignment to constant variable is the error you're getting. So it basically means that you cannot assign a value that, like, you cannot reassign a value. So let's try to redefine const, and that crashes as well. You cannot redefine or reassign a const variable. So those are the differences between var, let, and const. And as I told you earlier, that if you after writing many lines of code and you forgot that you use this particular uh, variable name, then these two would be very helpful, because then it will let you know that you've already used this. This is the advantage of ES6 let and const, and we will not be using var anymore. I'll see you in the next video.